Cooking with Peppers today, and we have some very special guests today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Gail Blakely. I'm the culinary coordinator here at Highfield, and I also write 30 years of food column for the Enterprise, Gourmets and Good Eaters. So let me just first of all thank my kitchen volunteers. Susan is here, and Hope is here, and Carol is out there, and we are also being taped here for Falmouth Community Television, so Valerie is doing that for us. And where did, there, Marianne, why don't you come on up here just for a second with us, okay? This is Farmer Fricke. Farmer Fricke, otherwise known as Rooster.
Rooster.
The Rooster Man, I call him. And this is, I'm not going to say it, I have to say it, Mrs. Rooster. This is Marianne Fricke, who is his wife, who is a very talented, I think, baker in her own right, and certainly one of your major helpers here. And Marianne and I have been talking about doing some classes together in the spring. We're going to do a series. I'm going to do a series on baking, and you are an expert in gluten-free. So we are going to finally do some.
You become an expert if you like to.
Exactly, exactly. All right. So I thank you both for coming. I thank you for your donations. You have a number of products out there that will be available after the class. But you are the expert, and I am just in awe of what you do. I think these are the prettiest little devils I have ever seen in my life. And you did bring also some toasted ones, right? The moles, so that we can take a look at those as well. Okay. And I think I'm just probably going to turn it over to you. We are going to go through a series of tastings. We have the Virgin Bloody Mary already made, and I'm going to pass that out to you. I'm going to slice up a little bit of this Mexican pepper bread, which I made this morning. And I think without further ado, let's get the jam on there.
Okay.
Let's get our pork in the oven, and then you can educate us to pepper.
Excellent.
Okay? All right.
And I'll give a little spiel about Nobska Farms at that time.
And knock yourself out, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay.
So let's start with a little bit of, this is ghost pepper jelly, which we make. It's got ghost chili peppers plus about 15 other kinds of chili peppers that go into this. It's kind of like apple pie. You put lots of different kinds of apples to give you a broad flavor profile for the apple pie. Same thing with our chili pepper jelly, and also the sauce, which you'll have a chance to taste in a little bit. This is fiery hot, so I'm just going to put a little on, and you can sample as much or as little as you like.
All right, may I say, this is one of my favorite cheeses. Those of you who've taken classes before here have heard me rave about this. This is it's a brie from available at Windfall Market, and I actually got this in Stop and Shop, but I also know that Roche Brothers carries it year-round. It's called Dauphinois, and it is a special double cream fabulous brie, which is so good that you could almost use it as face cream if you wanted to. So, so you can try a little bit of that. These are sesame crackers made with wheat, and these are gluten-free crackers on this side. Okay, and that
Virgin Mary is spiced with Rooster's rocket fuel, a very small amount. So it is the back of the mouth that she describes is from the type of chili peppers that go into the sauce. It stimulates receptors that are in the back of your throat. Other chili peppers will stimulate receptors that are on your tongue, so to speak. So there's a little bit in here. If you like, we can also pass this around with dipsticks, and you can have samples of just the sauce by itself if you want to sample that.
Let's show them the jar of the ghost pepper jelly.
Yes. So this is the ghost pepper jelly. Camera. Right. And I'm sorry.
So the camera's in front of you too. We'll pick up some.
Put it right here. Okay, good. These are available after the class if you like to buy. So this is what it packages and looks like. We also sell this at various retail stores around town, Bean and Cod on Main Street, Windfall Market, and some other places.
Needed to turn the oven up to 400.
Right.
So these are our two tenderloins. Do they need to be salt and peppered first?
Yes, they do. That's the next step. So
I wouldn't think you need pepper, but I guess you do.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. Salt and black pepper. Would we do that? Why would we do black pepper if we're doing a red pepper?
Well, they are completely different flavor profiles.
Okay, good.
So pepper, in fact, the reason these are called chili peppers is because when Columbus discovered chili peppers in the New World, it reminded him of the peppers that are completely different species that come from Southeast Asia, primarily Vietnam these days, produces very fine black pepper. It's a different species, has a different flavor profile, stimulates different sense receptors. So it's a complementary flavor.
I see. Okay.
And the salt is to
That's your
help,
answer.
provide, it penetrates, salt brings out flavors and
it balances.
lots of different things.
It balances, certainly.
So what we're going to do is sprinkle a little bit of salt first. I like to do that. We'll sprinkle just a little bit of salt on there. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of pepper. Generally, when I make a rub, which we'll also talk about in a little bit, I make the rub with 2 parts salt and 1 part pepper, and a black pepper, that is. And then after that, then we add a whole bunch of different spices. We make a chipotle seasoning, which has got lots of wonderful aromatic spices in it, all savory spices, and 4 different kinds of chili peppers. So.
And that's available for purchase also?
And we have it out there, that's right.
What is that called?
Chipotle seasoning, or we also call it a chipotle dry rub. It can be used in a lot of different ways. For a rub, like for a steak or chicken, also can be used as just a seasoning. You would put it on eggs or something after it was done. Here is your salt.
Thank you, sir. We're sharing our salt today.
Now, on top of this, this is a recipe that was actually created by one of our customers, and they took our ghost pepper jelly, which again the jar is somewhere around the table now, and augmented the jelly with Worcestershire sauce and Dijon mustard and white wine. So we're going to mix these 2 together. This is the pepper jelly. I'm making this half straight. These people that created this recipe.
Doing okay? Yeah. So I was calling you Fee.
Thought in respect to you all who may or may not be wanting to have the full high octane, that we would put a little bit less heat in. This has actually got Worcestershire sauce, but also Worcestershire powder, which Lisa Kavanaugh at the Spice Merchant offered to us as an augmentation. So it's got
There it is.
Yep, there's the spice with the Worcestershire powder.
Okay. Which is interesting. It's. I'll pass it around. You can sniff it. I think it's an interesting product. She also gave us a horseradish powder, which is what is in your Bloody Mary, Virgin Mary mix. Horseradish powder. Powder, ground root. So. Now, also in your Virgin Mary mixture, there is Lisa's celery salt, which is what we dipped the rims of the cups in, and the horseradish powder, which I will pass around as well. You can take a look at. Okay? Feel free to open and sniff. Excuse me, Rooster, sorry. Okay. Let me just answer any questions about the bread. The cheese bread, this morning I chopped half an onion, and I used one of, what was it, a cayenne? Is that the red guy all the way over?
This is a Charleston hot.
Charleston hot.
It's a type of cayenne.
Okay. And I wore my gloves because I hadn't put my eye makeup on yet.
Very good.
And,
Now, you're not wearing your gloves right now.
I know,
so
but
just
I'm
be
not going to
careful.
fix my
Don't put your
eyes.
on. That's right.
And this is a half a jalapeno.
That's a jalapeno.
Okay. Why do jalapenos come red and green, right?
I will tell you about that
All
when
right.
we get to the tray.
Okie dokie. But look at all these adorable little guys. They are so cute. And so this went in with 1.5 cups of grated cheddar cheese, and it was just a regular yeast bread. And I just beat it for 5 minutes in my processor and moved along with it.
So our glaze is all whisked together now. We're going to drizzle this across the top
more
of the
pieces.
loin. See? Then we're going to put the loin in the oven, and as it cooks, this glaze will infuse into the pork itself as it cooks. And then at the end, We will also have a nice dipping sauce. All this glaze will have caramelized as part of the cooking process. And so we'll have a dipping sauce as well as the flavor as it has baked into the loin and roasted into the loin.
Do we turn them at any point?
I'm just thinking that I will do that very
Okay.
thing. In fact, I may need to get my salt and pepper back when I flip them.
I don't think we can give you your salt.
Uh-oh.
You gave it up, kiddo.
Uh-oh, it's gone. Okay, I gave it up too soon. Well, folks, you'll just have to beg. This is, in the old days, salt was a precious commodity, and people actually had to beg for salt. The salt cellar, the so-called salt, was something that would walk around the table and you would beg for salt from the master to be able to share salt.
There you go, sir.
Such a high commodity. So we're going to flip these over and do the glaze on both sides.
Would you ever marinate these overnight in a plastic bag?
Absolutely. So the dry rub that we make, you will sprinkle that dry rub on this, kind of like this, and then depending on how much flavor you want, you sprinkle more or less. Put it in the refrigerator. We'll pepper.
Over there, kid.
Yep.
Oh.
I already gave it to you.
Oh, my Lord.
You may not have needed it. Anyway, so you would then marinate that or let it sort of steep in the refrigerator overnight, or even just a few hours. Grill it, bake it, roast it. So as it
I think offer it to people.
It'll absorb those flavors.
Offer it to each person and let them take how much hot they want. Can you do that for me? Thank you.
Gail, do you have a recommendation for purchasing your pork loin? Where to purchase?
Whatever's on sale. Whatever's on sale.
Okay.
Okay, so this looks wonderful.
I happen to not be a fan of pork tenderloin. I think it is very, it's too lean for me. I have brined it, and
Yep.
that, yes, that does make a difference.
Yep.
I prefer the pork, the roast with a little bit of fat on it, and it's just the one that they just take and chop it, make it into boneless pork chops. And I happen to like that one better. I think that the fat gives it a little bit more flavor. But for grilling, you can't beat this, and certainly for
And brining is a
caloric.
wonderful thing to do. For instance, I mentioned the dry rub thing. The dry rub on the chicken or the pork, if we've brined chicken before, several hours overnight, it's really good. And then you put a sprinkle of this dry rub on there, let it steep in the refrigerator for another few hours, and then grill it up. Flavors out as well and juicy.
Okay,
so
400
ready?
oven right there,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, we have one more step
Oh, yes.
to retain moisture. I have my pen.
Now, you also grill this, right?
Yep.
What's your favorite way, grilled or roasted?
In the summertime, it's grilled, and in the wintertime, it's
Okay, come on over here and help me. What we have here is
the tapenade.
the tapenade. This is an artichoke tapenade. So this has a, actually I'm gonna just pass you over the ingredients for the gazpacho
Indeed.
first. Okay. So in the tapenade, a can of artichokes, some olives, stuffed olives, and some garlic and some capers. Got lime juice.
Or maybe even a four-handed job.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, so we have a papaya, peppers, red and, these are just bell peppers, not chili peppers. We have mango, and we have more, no, I'm sorry, I moved over, sorry. And the lime juice, and I'm going to leave this with you, sir, to see about cutting up
I will do
and then putting it in.
That's causing you a problem.
All right, so let's just, without further ado, let me just quickly mush up the tapenade, and then we can pass that around. So that has, what I need you to do, though, Rooster, is to put a little bit of your powder in this.
Yeah.
Chili powder to taste.
this-
Is that going to be your rub?
This is for the gazpacho, right? This is
Correct,
gazpacho.
yes. So what should we put in this?
Okay, so in the tapenade calls for chili powder. Normally you go to the grocery store and you get chili powder. It's actually a mix of mostly paprika, a whole bunch of other chili varieties, and sometimes salt and some other things. This is chili powder. That is, it's dried chilies that have been powdered. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Our friends, colleagues, and associates who have tried this don't call it chili powder. They call it demon dust. It calls, I can't remember, how much does it call for? It calls for in the top, and it says start with a quarter teaspoon. Wow. I'm going to start with a little bit less than that, but there's intense chili flavors as well as heat, so we really want to keep away from the heat. The chilies that are in here include things like ghost pepper, Trinidad Moruga scorpion, which are, I'm going to introduce you those things here. Also, other things that are mild, and generally what happens is we'll have chili peppers that are left over from a batch of cooking or something like that, and I haven't used them all. I dry them, and I put them into our coffee grinder, which is dedicated to this purpose, and we grind them into this dust, which we then can use in a lot of different ways. It's going to go into a number of recipes today.
Right,
so do you want to, how this should probably be added in after it's, so the reason I'm cautioning, so there's some artichokes and big chunky stuff like that. If we put in a little bit of this, that's good. If we put in a little bit of this, it might get into a fold of the artichoke or something like that. And somebody at this end of the table would say, oh, gee, there's no heat at all. And somebody at this end of the table would be screaming for the fire department to put out the heat. So having a little bit of pre-mix like that. I'm going to just show you all through the little bottle. Does not do it justice. I want for you all to be able to see that this looks a lot like the chili powder that you buy in the grocery store, right?
Rooster, right in front of that camera over there.
That was my question, and you kind of just answered it. But of all the different brands you buy in the grocery store, Spice Island and all those different brands, they're always red. And then when you make chili or something, it calls for chili powder, it has a specific taste.
Yes.
Does yours also, even though it doesn't have all the paprika and everything in it?
Yes.
If I made chili with that, it would still taste like...
You would still have that flavor. Oftentimes when we make a sauce like for a taco sauce, things like that, instead of buying, was it Old Mexico or one of those? What is it? Old
El Paso.
Old El Paso, that's it. We make our own, and if you like, I think I can give you the recipe for that. And the biggest constituent is paprika. And so paprika is a chili pepper. It's a Hungarian chili pepper. And so the Hungarians, well, so you put in 2 parts paprika to 1 part cumin to 1 part coriander to, I'm sorry, there's another 2 parts. Anyway, so there's a whole sequence, and I just line them up on the table, and we just put them into the talking mix, and it's wonderful. So there's, so let's do this. So now that you've seen this, we'll sprinkle this in a little bit over the whole plate.
Pinch of salt.
Okay. We're adding a pinch of salt. How much of a pinch? Like that much?
And then just a little bit of lemon juice. There's already lemon juice in there. Yes, Carol? Where's Carol? Lemon juice is already in here?
Yep. I need a little bit more. Do you want to use regular salt as opposed to sea salt?
We're using sea salt this morning.
Okay.
Depends on what we have. It's a finer salt. We usually use kosher salt in here just for the feel of it so that we can control it a little bit more, but I think we may be out, so.
Capsaicin, which is the active chemical, is from a family of chemicals called capsaicinoids. There are 5 principal capsaicinoids that are in different chili peppers. Some of them will burn second, so you get the sampling first and it comes later. It's usually in the back of the throat. Some of them burn quickly right on the front of your tongue and it goes away immediately. Some of them burn on the front of your tongue and it just goes on and on and on. So depending on the complement of capsaicinoids that are in each of the different chili peppers, they will burn more or less in different ways.
All right, are we ready to move on to gazpacho for a second?
Go.
Okay, we're going to use the processor. I think that's probably easiest rather than our immersion blender. So I am going to put in, the juices are in there, the mangoes, papayas. We do have pineapple, but we didn't use it, and the lime juice. And I'm going to ask you to cut this baby up. And
What's the name of that baby?
the name of that baby is Rooster's Baby.
This is a Scotch bonnet.
Okay.
It calls for a half of a Scotch bonnet. This is
My gloves?
this way so you can see it cut. Okay. The Scotch bonnet
Do you want gloves?
The Scotch bonnet is sort of, I mean, it's definitely hotter than a jalapeno, but it's not of the so-called face melting hot category. It is a very hot chili pepper. This is often used in Caribbean cooking, particularly Jamaican cooking. This is the ingredient that is in the jerk sauces, chickens, and rubs that they make. So look at the way that this chili pepper is formed. There are seeds at the top, a membrane in the middle, and then no membrane down at the bottom. Oftentimes, people say, well, it's the seeds where the heat is. Well, in fact, that's sort of true, but not completely true. If you look at a scale of 1 to 10, the flesh has unit heat. The seeds have 3 units of heat, and it's the membrane, the so-called placental tissue, that connects the seeds to the flesh, which is where the number 10 heat is. So, when in a recipe they say, cut out the seeds, no, cut out the membrane if you don't want the heat.
You still have heat.
You still have heat. So what we're going to do, this recipe calls for de-seeding this chili pepper. I am going to voluntarily de-seed and demembrane to a certain extent this Scotch bonnet. So there is the heat component right there to a large extent. There's still a little bit of membrane in there. But interestingly enough, we've done sort of around the table taste trials. My son asked one time, well, if you cut out the heat, do you also cut out the flavor? And we've decided that there is not an insignificant amount of flavor in the membrane. So to a certain extent, by taking away the membrane, you're also taking away some of the flavor. So that's just what it is.
Okay, let's chop that baby up a little bit.
Let's cut this up a little bit so we don't put it in as one giant chunk.
So someone doesn't get a piece of it and go,
And the juices you put in there, were they pineapple or papaya or?
We use papaya juice. I got papaya juice in the organic food section of Stop and Shop, and we used tomato juice. I could not get one ingredient. Tell me what. Sorry. So we have ripe papaya. We have the pineapple, the bell peppers. We used mango instead of the pineapple. Okay.
And it was
Here you go, Rooster.
Got zing.
I said we need that. It does.
You like that, okay?
Yeah.
Now, here's what I'd like to do with that tapenade. I'd like to mix it with a little bit of mayonnaise and spread it on like an English muffin or something and broil it. Don't you think that would?
Man, and broil it.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be good? And maybe a little bit of cheese in it too.
And I was just thinking about either cheese or sour cream, and you can make, like these layered dips. You could have that sort of a thing as well.
And
So imagine as you take this, it's been chilled for a few hours in the refrigerator.
isn't it pretty?
It's excellent.
Now, wouldn't this be pretty little shooters of this at a party? And don't tell people what's in it?
A little garnish of some parsley or some little bit of,
Absolutely gorgeous.
cilantro. Let me show you a platter, so to speak, of chili peppers. It's called the hot pepper paradox. Everything about hot peppers and hot sauce screams, don't stuff this in your mouth, you maniac. But hot peppers, hot sauce, and salsa are among the healthiest foods on the planet. Researchers are working on linking hot sauce to treatment of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, inflammation, weight loss, and cancer. And there's more information about all of that in here. So, yes. Chili peppers tend to like hotter, drier conditions, but not all. They tend to like relatively dry soil. They don't like to have wet feet when they grow. So standing water, boggy, swampy conditions are not good generally. It's not sort of this sort of blanket statement. There are 3,000 varieties of cultivated chili peppers, so there are obviously different specializations. Chili peppers will tend to have different characteristics. The same cultivar will have different characteristics depending on where it's grown. So for instance, there was a PhD student from, she might have actually been from Myanmar or Burma. Now that I'm thinking of this. In any case, she did her work in Australia. And she showed for the same species of chili pepper grown at low elevations and high elevations, essentially geographically the same place, but just up and down on the same mountainside, that altitude, the ones that grew higher were hotter than the ones that grew lower. So again, there are variations. Soil is a condition. Humidity, if you have high humidity, that will tend to make the chili peppers hotter. Man, that smells good.
It might look nice.
Yeah. So there are definitely climatological effects on the chili peppers. We're actually having a little problem this year, right now. I need a whole bunch of these, and they like really hot weather to mature, and we haven't been having a lot of hot weather these days. So these last 3 days have been really nice.
That's a habanero?
This is actually a ghost pepper. This is a Bujalokia from Assam and Nagaland in India.
Rooster, that's what I was going to ask you. How easy or hard is it to grow around here?
Right. So how busy or hard is it to grow chili peppers around here? For the most part, we have found it pretty straightforward. We have grown chili peppers literally from all over the world. These are from India. This is from Trinidad. These are from the South American Andes and so forth. And we create soil mixtures, we create nutrients. All of our methods are using organic methods to grow. And so we've had pretty good luck in growing chili peppers here. We've had a little bit of cool weather here. Hopefully we'll have a long fall and we'll be able to get good production. The chili peppers are actually perennial woody shrubs, so in the tropics they just grow and grow and grow. Around here they are considered to be annuals. You grow them and they die in the fall. A lot of our chili plants, in fact all of these, yes, I think all of these came out of our greenhouse over the winter. We brought them outside in the spring, and they are continuing to produce. A lot of ornamental pepper plants. Most of those, all of them, have very small little chili peppers on them. All ornamentals are edible. I like to think of them, lots of recipes call for a pinch of salt. Well, this is a pinch of heat. And so you leave it near your kitchen. If you're making a stew or a salad or something like that and you want a little heat, you put that in, dice it up very finely, and you can mix it in. If you want a little more heat, you pinch another one off. I just can't wait to try this. Can I just...
Knock yourself out. Fingers are fine.
Fingers are fine. I have to try it au natural. Oh, awesome. I have to try. So no redips here.
Is that okay?
Double dip. Oh, excellent. Excellent. A little bit of zing, but not a lot. I think you'll like it. Let me tell you a little bit about these. So on this platter here, I've got everything from an incredibly aromatic, mild chili pepper. There's essentially no heat in it, all the way to what was the world's hottest chili pepper until November 14th of last year. There's now a hotter one, which we grow, but I don't have any ripe ones, so I didn't want to bring it in. So this is on the back of our card, our POS card. You say from mild to wild. So this and this platter shows you the spectrum of mild to wild.
Because what we're going to do now is your wife is going to come up and we're going to
Excellent.
do the chocolate fudge sauce. And then we're going to get that going and then we'll get the cookies in the oven.
Excellent. Kaibo chocolate, C-A-L-L-E-B-A-U-T. It's actually the chocolate that we use also in our spicy chocolate, which I'd love to be able to have you sample. I've got some to sample over here, and we have it to buy out there. What else goes in that, Marianne?
So this is the hot fudge, but it's called double hot fudge because it's hot fudge, but then we put a little kick of spice in it.
Other ingredients.
But what you could do, all right, so if you don't have demon dust, which I don't expect everybody to have.
Well, after today, you should all have
Right. Go to the grocery store and get you can either get habaneros, which are available typically at Stop and Shop, places like that. Dry them and crush them, grind them up.
What about Lisa's chipotle powder? Would that work?
Actually, chipotle, we've thought about putting chipotle in the hot fudge. That might be a way to do it as well, and for this recipe here. In fact, if you're interested, you want to...
I'm picking it up with that one too.
Do you want to... We can use this chipotle powder in there instead of the demon dust.
I'll let you
Would that be all right?
spice, but it's all.
So we're gonna just go way out on the limb. We've never done this before, so let's use this chipotle powder in the double hot fudge,
All right.
and it'll be interesting.
It'll give it that smoky kind.
Yeah, it'll be kind of a smoky flavor.
So
So these are dried chili peppers. These are from New Mexico. And so these are dried. Typically in New Mexico, they hang them in the sun. They dry out. You've seen these ristras that are hanging with these beautiful strings of these things. So drying is important. I mentioned the ancients. They would have crops come in the fall. They needed to preserve them to be able to use the cooking throughout the rest of the year, the continuation of the year. So they figured out how to dry them. Separately, they also figured out, by chance I suspect, when they were drying them, happened to be hanging over their fire, they would end up smoking.
So this is a regular chocolate chip cookie, and then I dumped a can of the shavings with the pumpkin seeds, the mango, and the spice into the cookie. Very good.
So they're spicy chocolate chip
not the
cookies.
ones that we're making now. Marianne is mixing some cookies right now.
Can we get the recipe?
Yeah, just use your favorite Toll House cookie recipe and buy a can of sprinkles. It's really easy.
Can I get a little bit back in the mouth? Sorry, that was good too.
Yeah, just gonna spice it on.
All right, so are we ready to get our cookies in here?
I think that's about as much as I want to put in. About like that. Now, I want to be careful how we mix that in. This is so intense. This flavor is so intense. I've just added some of the demon dust, and so I want to mix it in so that it gets mixed in incrementally. If I just cover that over with chocolate all at once, it'll just be a big blob of the super hot powder. Okay, so that is... All right, let's do a taste test.
And in that kalu is an extract that Rooster made, which is vodka.
Actually, no, this is the sugar water extract that I used. Oh yeah, that's got a little zing. That's nice, excellent.
Do with this dough, because look how soft it is I would refrigerate it for an hour before I made the cookies.
It looks like icing.
Or even overnight. It does look like icing. Can you see that? But what we're going to do is just put them on right on here, and then we're going to drop a little bit of turbinado sugar on it.
To talk about the rubs. I'll pass this around as well. So we make a savory spice rub, which has got, again, if you go on our website, click somewhere, do a search for recipes, and you'll see a bunch of different recipes. One of the recipe sections talked about making a rub. The base for the rub that
It's a brisket, I think.
Yes, right.
Yes.
There's actually a couple. There's that brisket one came from Peter Cook. But in any case, the basis of the rub is 2 parts sugar and 1 part pepper, and then a bunch of savory spices as well. So I encourage you to, if you want, take a sniff of this or just put a little sample in your hand. This is not particularly hot. Just take a sample of it and you'll be able to get the flavor. We formulated this at the request of Añejo. They put this in one of their dishes that's called pollo asado, and so it's on their menu. So I encourage you to taste that. But we've got a aquaponic system where we're growing fish and food together. And this is part of our high-intensity urban agriculture methods to be able to grow a lot of food in a little space. Gluten-free Toll House spicy cookies, make an ice cream sandwich out of those things, and then you're talking. Oh. So, see? So I wrote a haiku one time, which this reminds me of. The haiku it's called the chili pepper. Ooh, it's way too hot. I will not do that again until the next time.
It's true, you have to keep eating.
Exactly right.